To welcome everybody to the People's Church of Divine Prophecy. Today is our 4th anniversary. Happy belated Valentine's Day to everybody. Had a nice time in. A couple housekeeping rules: if you take your cell phone and put them on vibrate, unless you're medical or law enforcement personnel. The restrooms are down the hall, quick right, quick left. There's cold drinks in the back refrigerator, hot drinks on the table, and donuts also on the table. There's an anniversary cake there, but we'll wait until the end of the service to do that. I'd like to ask Joan to light the candles to start the service, symbolizing the unity of body, mind, and spirit. Safety. That's your grandma.
You don't have to say it, just pull the trigger. Is that part of the teaching?
Thank you, Joe. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the first hymn. Dear Father God, we give thanks for this moment here today, this moment in all of our lives of creation, being with those of like mind and those that wish to help and hope. May we feel the joy of your touch. May we feel the love of your touch. And may we share that with all those here today in our own way. Amen. Amen. The next portion is a thought for the day from the pastor. This past week, I noticed myself bouncing back and forth between what I have and what I want a lot. And when you do that, you always got to come back to what you have and remember what it's worth. Because if you keep reaching for what you want instead of appreciating what you have, you're always living in the future. That can get a little frustrating at times. I find myself thinking a lot. I live by myself now, and it's a very interesting path. I don't hardly turn the TV on. I don't listen to the radio much, and I pay a lot of attention to that which is around me, what I'm being inspired with from the unseen side. And something that comes to me is that, we're all trying to find our way along our own path now. And I did a lesson yesterday on imagination in the class, the development class that I'm teaching, and it talked about how you have to be here now, because now is the only time you can affect anything. This is the only moment you have to truly make changes, to really take any real action that means anything. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't think about the future and see where you're going a little bit, but the actions you take should be based on what's in your life today. You shouldn't forget the past, but the past is gone. And you shouldn't be bound by it, but you don't forget it. You remember the lessons of the past. But don't hold yourself down. Don't wish you'd done something different. It was what it was when you were there. My father used to say, hindsight's 20/20. So just don't armchair quarterback what you could have done or should have done. Do what you should do now. Don't wait to do anything. Do it now. We live in a wonderful time, a wonderful country with unlimited possibilities. We can choose who we want to be with, what we want to believe, where we want to go, and what we want to do with our lives, personally, professionally, and spiritually. And whether you realize it or not, there's very few places in the world where you can do that without somebody's permission, without somebody's approval. It's a wonderful time that we live in, and a wonderful place we live in to be in this time. It's a renewal of spiritual freedom. It's a renewal of personal freedoms. The human race as a whole is moving forward. It's stepping up, trying to shake off the bindings of the past. The human soul is progressive. The human soul wants to move forward everywhere on the globe. That's why you see so much disruption, so much attempts to hold it in place. Because it's a worldwide energy moving everyone at the same time. So when you practice that in your own life, you're actually in keeping with the world movement. You have that entire era, the entire time of millenniums coming to now. There's a lot of times when this type of energy is held in check, like the Dark Ages. Now is the time of the light. Now is the time to be the best you can be, every chance you can be it. Every chance you get a chance to say something kind to somebody. Every chance you have to thank for the blessings that you have. And I always remember somebody said, when you finally get what you want, it never seems like what you thought it was going to be. So it's the desire to move forward, the effort of moving forward that we benefit from, not the attaining of our goals. So always keep moving, always keep hoping, always keep reaching. But appreciate where you're at and take time to give thanks for the smallest things and where you're at for the largest things. If you concentrate on your spiritual discipline, your spiritual hope, everything else flows from that. If you have a spiritual life, you can live without having a lot of money. But if you have a lot of money and no spiritual life, you're as good as dead. So I just ask you to remember these things as you move forward through the week. Thank you for listening. The history of that song is that it comes from an old slavery song. And they're singing about things that couldn't be taken from them, praying for a better day. And that song is very significant to me because I had my spiritual awakening in a detox center by that song. And my life changed forever forward from that day. Little at a time, there wasn't this blinding light, and I was able to levitate and walk on water. It was a lot of work that brought me to today, but it definitely shifted my perception and started moving me in the proper direction. Gave me the opportunity to. Still had to take the steps and do the work, but that is the beginning of my conscious spiritual awakening in this life. Ashken's going to take the service now.
It's of 3 parts. First is the healing and the meditation. Second is the inspirational lecture. And the last part of the service is the demonstration of the spiritual gifts. We will start with the first part of the service, which is the healing. We have the healers assigned to do hands-on healing. If you would like to receive hands-on healing, you can go to the chairs. We have reserved chairs in the back, and when you hear the sound of the chime, that indicates that a chair has become available. And for those who would like to sit through the meditation, I will be guiding you with the meditation.
I'll fall down on my goodness here. I'm also the audio technician.
Just find a comfortable position to sit. Take in a few deep breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. Let go of the thoughts that are on your mind. Let go of the tension, if there is any in your physical body. With your exhale, just breathe it out and let it go for now. Become aware of your breath. Feel the motion of your breath. That is flowing throughout your body from head to toe while you are breathing. Connect to the rhythm of your breath. And just be. No thoughts. No interruptions. Feel the quietness of your mind. And the silence of your spirit. Follow your breath that is taking you deeper and deeper within to a very peaceful presence. Connect with this peaceful presence and become one. While you breathe, repeat to yourself quietly, I am at peace within and with my surroundings. Within and with my surroundings. Feel the peaceful sensations flowing along with your breath. Your body becoming more relaxed and your mind quiet. Embrace this peaceful aspect of your consciousness. Embrace the peacefulness of your mind and the quietness and the silence. This is your divine presence, the divine truth within. Embrace the peacefulness of your consciousness. For in this quietness, wholeness. And in this silence, you hear the voice of your Creator, God the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. You hear the voice that speaks to you in quietness through your intuition. The voice of your higher self, the I Am presence within, that seeks the highest good and the highest best for you and all. Become aware of this inner whisper, the inner voice that speaks truth within. Feel your connection with your higher self and to the presence of God within. For it is the source of all knowing, infinite, divine knowledge and wisdom, the source of creative power and infinity. Become aware of the higher aspects of your consciousness that is capable of creating, manifesting, and materializing your thoughts, your intentions, for the highest good of all. Become aware of the creative power that is within you. Allow the mind of God to work through your thoughts, through your actions, your inner actions. Have faith. With God, all things are possible. That is the vital force, the infinite force that is within you. See yourself in action, utilizing the qualities of your higher consciousness and incorporating into your daily actions to the goals that you are trying to achieve and the dreams that you are trying to accomplish. See yourself reaching your desires, reaching your goals with your highest intentions guiding you and leading you. Surrender to your higher self and to the will of God. Let thy will be done, God, in the highest most. Let thy will be done, as above, so below. As you once created in the higher dimensions of the universe, let that same will manifest and materialize in this physical reality while we are having our human experience, and with the knowing that your presence is within us, within each soul, that represents the perfection within each one of us. Rise above the human's limitations, the human conditions, and focus on the perfection and the goodness that is in each one of us. For in God's mind, we are all united. With God's heart, we are all one. We all originated from the divine source of oneness. Become aware of this mighty presence that is within you. God is love, and love is our essence. Feel God's unconditional love and compassion in your heart that is flowing from within you and around you. Feel God's love embracing you, comforting you, and healing you. Feel the warmth and the gentleness of this pure unconditional love that is capable of loving everyone, including yourself, unconditionally, with compassion. Feel this healing energy expanding further out, connecting with the person next to you, growing and expanding into a bigger, loving energy, healing energy, filling this room, and extending further out to the universe. Envision Mother Earth and all humanity are embraced with this loving energy. While you breathe, feel everything is breathing with the same breath. The breath of God. For you've become one within and with all. Let there be love on earth. Let it begin with us. Let there be peace on earth. Let it begin with us. Let there be light on earth. Let it begin with us. As a collective consciousness, we stand in the purity of God's love and light. See yourself as a tower of light, projecting and vibrating with love. The more light you project, the more light you attract. The more love you give, the more love you receive. Wherever you are, whatever you do, just be the light that you are. Be the love that you are. Feel yourself slowly coming back. Feel your breath bringing you back, engaging you with your physical senses, to the here and now. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. It's time for our lecture. Our speaker today is our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins. I am not seeing the introduction, so I'm just going to speak. Who Reverend Adkins is, he is the pastor of this church. He is an ordained minister, teacher, healer, and medium. He's demonstrated his work the past 25 years in the US and the UK, and he is currently teaching the class on spiritual development. Reverend Steve is the founder of this church, the People's Church of Divine Prophecy. I remember when I first came to this church, I wasn't sure if this is where I needed to be. So after coming for second time and the third time, I met with Reverend Steve, and my first question was, are there any rules and regulations in this church or guidelines that we have to follow? And his response was, no, Ashkhen, there are no rules. Just be yourself, wherever you are. That was said a lot to me. And since then, I've been attending this church, offering my selfless service and the love. Again, when I first started, there were very few people here attending the church regularly. And look around you. Doesn't this mean that the Spirit is doing something here? It was due to Reverend Steve's open-mindedness and the benevolent heart that welcomed and embraced every single soul that walked in through these doors. Due to that, we have grown, and by God's grace, we are growing. When we come in unity, with love, respect, and acceptance of each other, we will grow indeed. So it is time for our pastor to speak and share his experience with us. Please help me welcome Reverend Steve Adkins.
So good morning everybody. I'm going to speak today a little bit about the church and the spiritual purpose of churches. If you look around this room, you see everything on the walls, all the PA equipment. Everything that you see here has been donated, given out of hope and help. When we started, we had one guitar amp and a mic that was borrowed. There were 6 people in the church. And we were that way for about 3 months. And eventually people started coming and staying and participating and donating to what it is now today. It's been a wonderful journey for me because when I started this church, I had just been thrown out of an organization I'd been part of for 20 years. And I expected to be thrown out a long time before that, but it finally happened. So, and you know, that's my ordaining organization, and where I'd spent a lot of time, knew a lot of people. And the people that throw you out are about 5 people, the membership's several hundred, so I didn't take that as a statement from the membership, more so than the political atmosphere of the time. And my friend Manny Billy came over here, bought this building. He owns the bookstore downstairs. And he asked me, and he said, I know you've always wanted to start your own church. He says, why don't you do it upstairs? And I said, well, I'm not really ready to. And he says, I want you to start a service up there. I'm giving you an opportunity to use this room upstairs. He said, but the catch is you have to do it every Sunday. You can't do it some Sundays or the first Sunday or the last Sunday. You have to do it every Sunday. You have to commit to do that. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And we went forward, and I remember in the beginning, Ronnie Austin, the co-founder of the church, he'll be speaking next week. It got down to where there was like 3 people here one day, him, me, and one other person. And he says, what's going to happen, Steve? I said, as long as you and I show up, you can play music for me, and I'll lecture to you. How's that? So, and then a young lady by the name of Carmen Trupiano and her boyfriend came, and she put us on meetup.com, and we started growing from that point forward. So there was somebody who brought something new, took the effort to do it, and that started the church growing. Now it grows pretty much by word of mouth or through the internet, but back then it was that particular thing that started the church growing. Somebody donating a thought, a hope, free of charge, put it up, did the work, and got it going. And that's how this church has grown over the years. People putting a little bit here, a little bit there. I can have open the door all I want, but unless people come, then I can't minister. Can't minister to myself. And this church, again, was very formative. There was one Sunday, though, that I did not have a service. I had gotten into a lot of difficulty in my personal life, and I just couldn't stand up here and speak about spiritual things while I was in personal turmoil. I couldn't be disingenuous about it. I had to get the right of it. So there was one Sunday that I did not have a service here out of the last 4 years. And that was very early on in the beginning. We grew to about 15 people. Now we average about 30 to 40 every Sunday. And like I said, I want to take this chance, this opportunity to recognize Manny Billig for his graciousness and his kindness for donating. He doesn't donate the space, he gives it to us for a percentage of the collection. And in the beginning, that was about $5. So, and I don't have to sign a contract. This is our space as long as we hold a service here. So by his kindness and his friendship, I was able to have this service here. And by your continuing attendance, desire, and hope, we're able to continue this church, whether it's your first time here or your 200th time here. Everybody means something when they come here. Everybody contributes something as soon as they walk through that door that's important to this church. You know, a lot of times we go through life and we lose our spiritual way sometimes. We lose our spiritual purpose by life's circumstances. And a lot of times it's through perception of things that happen to us. And I was very angry about being thrown out of that organization because I did a lot of work for it. I was on the board of trustees for 10 years. I donated a lot of time. I spent 30 to 40 hours a week in the office doing their finances and their meeting notes. And, you know, me and my wife were up there, and it was just quite a time. We put a lot of time into it. And that was just wiped away in a matter of minutes by somebody's irritation. And I took it real personal, but then I looked back, and I would have never left that organization if they hadn't done that. And I wouldn't have started this church. I wouldn't have grown spiritually. I'd have stayed there, stayed within the confines of that group, and stayed who I was then without any forward progression. So that was the Spirit's way of giving me a boot to get forward with things. So not all things that happen to you that are unkind to you. Sometimes they're very formative in what happens to you. And in keeping with this, I'd like to just tell a short story. I may have told it here before. It's been a while since I told it, and it's about perceptions of things that happen to us. And this is a true story. There was this artist by the name of Joseph. He was an American Indian. And he was a prolific artist. He drew and drew. He could draw everything he saw. He could draw in detail. It didn't matter what it was. Perfect detail of everything he saw is what he was inspired to draw. And he joined the Merchant Marine right before we entered World War II. And he was traveling around with the Merchant Marine and different ports of call. Prior to us entering World War II, we were able to go to a lot of different ports of call that we couldn't go into once we joined the war with the Allies. So he'd go into these ports of call, and he would see all these German troops and these Italian troops massing, and he would just, by his own natural artistry, would draw the patches on the shoulders, the patches on the chest, and it would denote what troops were there, where they were at, and possibly where they were going. So eventually, one of his fellow merchant mariners realized the military worth of these and started picking up his discarded drawings and sending them to the American military intelligence. And they started figuring out troop movements by these drawings. And as with any military secret, it becomes known. And he was taken as a prisoner by the German army in a port of call. And they thought he was a spy. They didn't realize he was an innocent person, just doing what he did naturally. And they tortured him and beat him and just did the most horrible things to him. And they couldn't get any information out of him because he didn't know anything. Well, prior to him entering the Merchant Marine, he was in a college for art, and he had met a German exchange student. And then when the war started, his friend was called home. So now we flash forward back to him being in the prison. And these people did the most horrible things to him, nailed his feet to the floor and tortured him. And when they got done with him and realized there was no more worth to him, they sent him to a concentration camp to die, not a prisoner of war camp, but a concentration camp. And when he was in the yard, there was prisoners and Jewish people, one concentration camp, one prisoner of war camp. And he was just stumbling along, and some German soldier with a rifle started shoving him as hard as he could shove him. And he looks up, and it was his friend from the college days, shoving him into the line for the prisoner of war camp instead of the concentration camp. So the war got over, and he lived through the war, and he came back home. And his people realized that he had lost his spirit. the Indian people, and he was acting insanely. And they said that you can't live among us unless you find your spirit again. So there was a ritual that they put him in where they put him in this chair and they dunk him in and out of this freezing river time and time again, creating spiritual visionary within him. So he relives the events that he had to put him into perspective and try to regain his spirit. And they told him he had to forgive all the people that did wrongs to him. And he, through a period of time, through a period of days, he was able to forgive everybody but one soldier. And this soldier, at night when he was laying in his cell, would come in there and cram chicken guts and the most just atrocious things into his mouth to make him eat it on top of all the torture. And he just couldn't understand the inhumanity of that soldier on top of all that. He couldn't get by that. And finally the soldier came to him in his vision and he said, "They told me to let you die by starvation, and that's all I could find to feed you with." So when he saw this and made that realization, he was able to regain his spirit and become part of the tribe again. So when we encounter these kinds of things in our lives, we need to look beyond the immediate. We need to look at the actual purpose and intention of what's going on. See the spiritual reason for these things. And as I said, not all unkind things that happen to you are meant to be unkind. So we have to have a trust in our faith in God. We have to have a trust in who we are and where we are, and realize that God is always with us, the Spirit of God. This church's purpose is to have people understand their relationship with God, not give them an idea of God, but have them come into that own understanding of God and be guided by that personal relationship of their own understanding with God. We will tell you that there is a God, and it's a loving God, and the rest is up to you. We can share our experiences with you, we can share some principles with you, but anything that's told to you is for you to accept as you understand it, not as we understand it. To move forward with your life, to be empowered, self-empowered, not become dependent on us. Become empowered to be your own spiritual individual. And we will be here to help when the world gets too much on you. And we will help and share your experience and be enriched by that experience that you bring to us. So thank you for listening. And we have a special service today after this, rather than the usual demonstration of spiritual gifts. That's kind of funny. Usual demonstration of mediumship. There's nothing usual about that if you're not from here, but our regular demonstration of mediumship, we're going to have people stand up and share who they are, where they came from, and maybe a little, perhaps, purpose of why they come here. So thank you for listening, and I'll call Ashkhen back up to do the announcements.